Good afternoon, everybody. I am really excited that you are still with us and able to join us for this amazing session. Welcome to the Jazz Summit. For those of you that don't know me, I am Frank Makos. I am a board member for Jazz Philadelphia and also work for the School District of Philadelphia, where I serve as the Executive Director for the Office of the Arts and Creative Learning. And I'm also a saxophonist around Philadelphia. So I'll only be with you briefly to introduce this panel who is going to load you with wonderful information. I'm really excited to introduce the folks you're going to spend the next hour with because they are young, they are bright, they are talented, they are already seasoned vets in all of their own rights, and they're going to share all of their wonderful information on how they're carving their own careers through this music industry and through the jazz industry. So without further ado, I'm going to do a brief intro of the panelists. I am not going to read their entire bios, but you can certainly click on them as you're following the session. But first, I'm honored to bring Ayana Webb into the panel. Ayana is a musician and entrepreneur whose online business development has resulted in two different businesses, the musical web and the digital web. And on a personal note, I've had the pleasure of spending some time through the pandemic. And Ayana, for me, gets the MVP of pandemic virtual sessions. And you'll hear in a few minutes why, but to join her on Zoom and Clubhouse and a bunch of other platforms and hear her share her knowledge with a music community that was really trying to figure out some new approaches. It's been exciting. Next, we have Sam Gellerstein. Sam is a musician and educator, originally from Florida, now based in the Philadelphia area. You can see him mostly on tuba or trombone. I'm honored to have him working with students in the School District of Philadelphia, where he serves as a class instrumental music teacher, music educator, and is bringing some really wonderful innovation. Most notably, and I'm sure you'll hear about, is his latest project, Snacktime, which if you have not heard of Snacktime yet and you are in the Philly area, you may want to check your pulse because they are everywhere in the most positive and awesome way. And I think in even just a couple hours from now, they'll be live on stage. So welcome, Sam. Next, we have Arnetta Johsnon. If you hear a trumpet, it's Arnetta. Camden-born and Berkeley educated, Arnetta has quickly paved a way through the music industry and made a name for herself on tours, in sessions. She is becoming the first call horn producer for not only the Philadelphia area, but for musicians around the country. And so if you have a chance, check out all the different projects Arnetta is featured on, and you'll hear a lot more about that as we go. And finally, I'm going to introduce and then turn the session over to your moderator for today, Mr. Dan Rouse. Dan is a wonderful musician, a keyboardist and synthesizer programmer. He is a music and production director. He is an influencer, and by all forms of the word, a creative individual. You'll hear a lot about his projects, and you can read about it in his bio. But on a personal note, for Dan, he's someone I call a friend, a former student, a bandmate at times, a collaborator, and most recently, he's become a mentor to me in how we really carve ways for young and up-and-coming musicians, and especially when it comes to energy and out-of-the-box thinking. So you'll hear about all of that. So without further ado, I'm excited to turn the session over to Dan, and we hope you enjoy all the wonderful information. Thanks.
Thank you, Frank. Really appreciate that. Really excited to get into the talk today. Before, I would like to definitely give a shout out to our sponsors. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Musicians Local 77. It's really great to have their support. I don't know too much how you've experienced any of the other sessions, but as you see, we're a young group of individuals. We're on fire. We've been able to do things and make strides for ourselves in our careers through unconventional ways. So this talk might be a bit unconventional. It might be a little less formal, but that's exactly how we want it. I want to really engage with you. The same questions I'm asking the panelists, I want to ask you. So I definitely need help of, you supporting and contribute it in the chat. Whether you have a question, please utilize those resources. We want to answer questions. We want to converse with you and really just have a really, really well-rounded talk. Today's talk is going to be work over hype, monetizing your music. You can infer lots of things from there, but basically what we're going to talk about is finding success in music, whatever it is, whether it's live, whether it's studio, whether it's passive income, residual income, or just, active income. We can discuss all these things. These are a great group of panelists who have tons of experience in all these fields. Ayana, she is, to me, incredible. We're all going through the pandemic, and we were all experiencing in real time. And I can't wait to, bring her and have her share, because she was talking to me about some things that we needed for the pandemic before the pandemic started. Arnetta, another person, we had tons of conversations. We were already talking about things that we didn't know we were going to have to tap into before the pandemic started. Sam started a group, and little people don't know this, but it started before the pandemic, and I'd love to get into it. So to lay the stage, we have a very, very superficial environment in just society. And lots of times musicians, I think, lose the sight of what they're doing and why they're doing it. So today we really, really want to tap into what is our intent, what are our goals, what do we want to do, and how are we going to do it? So if anybody can, type in the chat what you do in music. I'm a musician. I'm a producer. I'm a music curator. I'm an event curator. What do you do? And then we'll start with that, and I'll ask, while you guys type, I'll ask a couple questions to our panelists. So, Ayana, I want to start with you. And, I know we talked about the musical web and the digital web. Can you just briefly describe in detail what those two things are? And just a little more background about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the musical web was actually the first business, which is what I use to sell piano courses online. And I started that, the online version of that, I started back in 2016. And my journey actually started really in college, career-wise. At the time, I was studying accounting actually as my first major, but I always wanted to do music. And after I realized, after I got my first paid internship that, I just couldn't do the accountant thing for the rest of my life. So that was when I decided, okay, I got to do music. I can't, at the time, I didn't really know how it was going to manifest itself. And I think that was the reason why I had shied away from it at first, because everybody's like, oh, well, you're going to be a broke musician or whatever. But I was like, you know what? I'd rather be broke and happy than to be paid and be miserable. So at the time, that was what kind of thrusted me into the idea of teaching piano, because that was just something that I was just very good at. And then, after just trying to apply at different jobs and nobody was hiring me as a piano teacher, I decided to start teaching my own private students. And that was how I got into business for myself, initially teaching private lessons in my local area. And then a few years later, I decided to expand that business online to selling piano courses, which is a pre-recorded series of video tutorials that people can just buy and go through on their own. And the goal was for me to transition into doing courses and be able to kind of discontinue private lessons which would give me the opportunity to do more things and travel and, just do more things I enjoy. So that's actually what I'm doing now. But then as a result, as a natural progression, I actually ended up launching a second site called the Digital Web, where I now teach other people, other musicians, other business owners, how to leverage their teachings by teaching them how to put courses and, their instructional programs online to be able to do the same thing. So that was kind of how the second business came about, because people were asking me like, oh, how did you get into teaching, private lessons, or not teaching, doing courses? And I want to get into courses. And I think because of the whole pandemic, I'm glad you brought that up, because now people are doing more business online, and courses is like a hot topic at this point. It was a hot topic before, but now it's really a hot topic. So That was how those two businesses kind of came about.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
Please, if you are looking for piano lessons or looking to scale your business, market yourself, anything, just 101 on how to do that, Ayana is the person for that. I just watched in awe as she really tackled it. One of the themes you'll hear, and it's not to belittle or downplay anybody in this panel, because I picked these people because I had the utmost respect for them as professionals, as colleagues, as friends. And what I believe they do is super significant. But I just want to make the point, in work over hype and keeping that theme, Ayana is someone who, if you were just to say, Chick Corea, if you were to say Adam Blackstone, if you were to say Tyler Perry, in their industries, these people could just be almost on first name basis. And even in the musician world, we see a lot of times people follow and definitely gravitate to the people who have the big names. And they somewhat correlate that to the bigger the name, the better the success. And we're here today to demystify that and say that isn't true. Ayana, she said a lot, but she still is really being pretty modest in what she's done. Ayana has really, really crossed barriers in sales, crossed barriers in finance and marketing, and tools that tons of musicians are, maybe not so naturally blessed with, because we're great at music, we're great at all the playing, and on the stage is one thing, and when we get off the stage, it's it's another story. Knowing how to market, knowing how to think with a business mindset, knowing how to manage your finances. Ayana has tackled all of those things, and I'll go more. I'll come back to you, and so you can talk more. But I just really want you guys to really look at the people you have here and understand that these are people who have done it, and they were going to do it, whether people knew them or not. I introduce people and they're like, who the heck is Ayana Webb? And I'm like, get to know her. And they're like, well, who she play for? And I'm like, nobody. She works for herself. She works for herself, and she makes her own decisions. She's scaled her courses to be able to travel the world, and she works when she wants. Well, she works when she wants to, but she's working without working. While she's going and sipping a mimosa and on an island somewhere, her courses are selling in China, in Australia, all around the world. And I really, really appreciate that about her, for being able to, one, set the vision, move and make that come to light, and sustain herself through the pandemic, and really flourishing even outside as we're ending. So there you go. Yes, Jen. She plays for herself. That is exactly yes, with the snap on it, right? I'll come back to you, because I can keep going. She's really amazing. Arnetta, I want to go to you. How are you feeling?
I'm doing just all right.
All right. Let's get it to great.
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh well, I am doing great.
Yeah. No, that's great. Ayana, you heard a bit of her bio. She's really a force in the horn section world, because not only is she doing things unconventionally, she's breaking the mold of not even just like breaking barriers as a woman trumpet player in a male dominated society. She's even making as herself as an artist, and she's making strides that I've seen people try for decades trying to do. She right now has a partnership with Life Water. If you're going to a store and you see Life Water, check that bottle. You might see Arnetta. They say if it's a trumpet, it's Arnetta. Well, if it's a Life Water bottle, it might also be Arnetta. But just the business mindset to be able to pursue as an artist, other ways of resources, income. Ayana has endorsements. She doesn't just have the endorsement where they give you the deal either. She gets paid. That's monetizing your craft, monetizing your music. She has Life Water partnerships. She has other things, commercial. I won't go into it a little bit. I'll let Ayana take the floor. Arnetta take the floor, but I'm sorry. But yeah, Arnetta, tell us just a little bit more about yourself. Some things that weren't in your bio around the theme of, you being able to work and create work, even when it might not have gotten the hype that people look for.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Camden, New Jersey, right across the way from Philly. So, I always, I had to learn, in the Camden community, going across the bridge to network with our Philly peers, that was like the thing to do. It was, part of the scene. So just from a young age, just understanding the importance of networking, building relationships. Because, you never know how, the beneficial side of just, just building on things with people. So as Dan was saying, like throughout my career, somebody probably look at me and says, oh, she's a trumpet player. So how is she doing these certain things? Like getting these different partnerships with a brand like Life Water, And it's because I would say I pretty much just went head on with my artistry and, and with my career as a whole. As Dan said, it's, putting the hype aside and just taking care of your business, so that's something I've really been big on throughout my entire career. Just really making sure things are in line and making sure things are straight and just really building those long-lasting connections and relationships throughout the years with my Camden community and with my Philadelphia peers. Like Sam and Dan, I've known y'all for a long time.
Yeah.
and Ayana, her and I started kicking it heavy, I think maybe 3 or 4 years ago. It's been a minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I remember Ayana had a magazine. I forget exactly what it was, but I remember you had me on to do an interview. You had me on to do an interview. So it's things like that, just building relationships with people at wherever their starting point is, and, keeping the connection and talking with each other and hearing how people are navigating this way and that way and not waiting for somebody to look cool, to really appreciate their value. So that's something that has helped me tremendously in my career. Just, taking myself seriously and knowing my own value, and then looking at other people and hearing how much they value themselves and honoring that as well. So that's honestly what's been getting me progress throughout my career, the way I've been going. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, a whole lot that she does there. Great at branding, understanding that, people want to see something, and this is for everything. I'll touch on it, but I'll come back. People want to see that you're just, you have something,
right.
And there you go. Look at Sam. And, something tells people that, your identity, and they can say, okay, and then you can start building your consistencies around that. When I see this brand, I see this. When I see this brand, I hear this. I expect this quality, When I go ba-da-ba-ba-da.
We all know what it is.
You know what it is, And so, this is great. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I gotta get Sam introduced. But thank you for that, Arnetta. You definitely almost got me going there. First, real quick, I want to say what's up, Brandon, Chris, Laura, Jen. I see Jill in here. I see a lot of people in here. What we're doing is in the chat, if you can, just type, what you do in music, whether you're an organizer, whether you're a teacher, an event curator, a musician, producer, anything, vocalist. Just type what you do. We want to get to know you. And as we keep going through, feel free to hit us up with any questions, anything, that you might want to talk about, or things you might want us to touch as we go. But last, we got Sam. We got my guy, Sam. Hey, Jill. Yeah, we got Sam. This guy, he's an inspiration, because when I first met him, I'm like, this dude is fearless. Like, I've watched Sam just do stuff because he wanted to do it. And he's like, yeah, let's do this. And it happens. And that resonates with me, because I feel like I'm that type of guy. Like, I want to do this. And it just, but it's more than just saying, I want to do it. Sam has done the work. Sam has put in the time in. So I want to give him the floor to kind of just, talk a little bit more about what Snacktime Philly is. If you haven't heard about it, you will. Trust me. And go ahead, Sam.
Hey, y'all. First of all, Dan, thank you for having me. And thank you, Jazz Philadelphia, for having me. It's truly an honor to be, alongside Ayana and Arnetta in this conversation. It's super important for me to sort of feel as if I'm a part of the community in Philadelphia. So thank you. Snacktime was, I guess I can kind of roll it back as far as, I guess it would be November of 2019. One of my friends, who is the owner of Mission Taqueria, he asked me to put together a band for his Friendsgiving, this like legendary yearly Friendsgiving party, for this after party. And basically, like, I had up to this point had only really done sideman stuff. I'd only been like helping other artists, playing for other artists, doing other stuff, playing wedding bands, the usual stuff that a lot of musicians tend to do. So it was kind of beyond my rock and punk life, which I'd been in punk bands my whole life, but that was kind of the only like front man opportunity that I have. So it was sort of like my first time leading a band with trombone and through a different sort of scope of music. So I got a really amazing band and we smashed, and it was like a really big, crazy energy coming from the party. And it's something that like I really thrive off of. And I guess I didn't really put it together in the moment, but the music that I had been playing my whole life really is what drove me to this. So we had this big, strong party going, and it was amazing. So then nothing really happened up until a couple months later when Jen Zavala, who is opening this new restaurant called Wana Somali, I'm not sure if you guys know about it, but it's really cool. She asked me to put a band together and do this event with her that I coined the name Snacktime. And it was going to be featuring a different chef and a different group of musicians every month. Like, it was supposed to feature a different, basically it would be me featuring with a different group of musicians. It would be a jam session, it'd be everything. So the first one happened. It was sold out. We sold 100 tickets, no problem. It was a success, huge success. And then we had the next one planned for the next month. And then 3 weeks later, as you all know, there was a global pandemic that happened. I'm not sure if you guys know that. So basically after that, obviously everyone kind of chilled for a long time. And it wasn't until about June or July that Jeff Bradshaw me and Jeff Bradshaw kind of got to talking, because I wanted to organize a musicians march against racism and against injustice. And actually Arnetta was a person who I really wanted to work with, because I didn't necessarily feel like, as a white man, that it should be me leading this charge. So Arnetta actually gave me the idea to reach out to some of the older Black elders in our community. So I reached out to Jeff Bradshaw. So me and Jeff came up with the idea for this thing called Clarion Call for Justice, which I'm not sure if you guys heard about, but that was a series of about, I think we did 7 of them. It was musical protests featuring anywhere from 30 to 60, 70 horn players at big areas in the city. So basically we did that for a while up until about August. And then once again, Jen started doing pop-ups again. So we already had this relationship of Snacktime. So I said, okay, let me get another brass band. So I called some friends. It was successful. And then I said, you know what? The world's opening back up a little bit. The weather's getting warmer. I see a lot of my friends in New York doing this brass band thing constantly. And it's, it's crazy. They're making tons of money. They're having a great time, constantly on Instagram posting these crazy parties. I'm like, why don't we have this in Philly? And I've sort of always asked this question that, like, I've done brass bands in Philly. Obviously, there is a really, there is an amazing heritage of brass bands in Philly, whether it be U-Hop or Brass Heaven or obviously stuff with like the Roots and stuff. So I figured, there needs to be something like that here. So we started busking. And the thing is, in Philly, aside from the usual suspects that we've all seen busking, there's not really a large community for it. One, because I think that it's not happening, so it doesn't happen. And also, I think that the police in the areas in which you'd like to busk are not very kind. So we started playing in the park essentially every Friday and Saturday from August until basically February, until it got too cold. So that was sort of the incarnation of how Snacktime started since then. And then through then, we picked up more and more private events and public events and more restaurant openings. And, we sort of wound up to this point to where we just played halftime at the 76ers game, which is crazy. But, it's been a really crazy year. And there's so much other stuff that we do. We've been producing our own events, which features chefs and, local wine companies and cocktail makers. And that's sort of the synchronicity of the 2 most important factors in my life, which is, 3, I'd say: food, music, and community. So Snacktime, if I had to describe it, is exactly that. It's an intersection of food, music, and community. And I'd like to say, I appreciate you saying this, it's fearlessness, because there is sort of a fearlessness that needs to go into playing for no money on the street, because as it turns out, there's lots of money on the street when you play the right music for the right people and try to just connect to the community. And it's been really amazing and really successful. And I'm just super grateful for everything that we've done. You know, in the next couple of weeks, we're playing basically every large stage in Philly. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's crazy, and I'm always grateful. So yeah, that's basically the story. I know that was kind of long-winded, but
Yeah. If someone wrote all that down, there's your book. Just kidding. But no, thank you, Sam, and congrats on the success. You know, I'm a huge supporter. Love you guys. Most of you, if not all of you, are like longtime friends. And it just is great to see you guys succeeding. I want to jump into some conversation points. I'll start like this. I'll ask questions, and everybody can take a stab at it. If you don't want to answer this one, audience, feel free to answer in the chat as well. But okay, let's start. Let's just jump into this. Touring. We see lots of hype around touring. We see the fantasy of like most musicians grow up and you're like, I want to make it big and I want to be this huge star and I want to tour. And we're looking at it, and then we even see like people who are doing it, you know. And then a lot of times you hear them saying, "Touring's not everything it seems to be." And one thing, as a young musician, I always asked was like, "Then why are you still doing it?" And I'm like, "Really? Okay, well, it can't be that bad." But then as I grew, I was just like, are they choosing to tour, or do they have to tour? And so I feel like I want to ask a question of one, it's a two-part. Why do you think there's such hype around touring? And two, is touring everything it seems to be? Anybody who wants to jump in on it?
Hey, Patti.
Sure.
So I'll answer, I guess, the most obvious question. Why does touring have so much hype around it? I mean, same reason why there's so much hype in just going to a show. You know, from the audience perspective, you're going to see your favorite artist, but at the same time, you're like, you just want to be in that crowd with everybody, just yelling a song, like yeah. But then from the flip side, it's like you're on stage sometimes. You might be playing with an artist that you were a huge fan of. That's cool. You know, everybody wants to play with an artist that they love. Or it's the same way people want to say hi to them. Some people want to play with them and then get the chance to perform with an artist that they've been a fan of forever. And then some people just like the crowd energy and the lights, the camera, the action. So that's why there's a lot of hype around it. Also, to touch on the illusion side of why touring looks so hype, has so much hype around it. A lot of people, you know, I remember being super young, like 18, 19, and looking at people touring. I'd be like, man, they always come back home in the coolest clothes and the dopest speakers. They just look so cool. They look like stars. Like, wow. And then, you know, and then we're left with that illusion. We see them as like, wow, I want to be like that. Come home with chains and stuff and taking pictures with famous people. Yeah, so it's like that's why there's a lot of hype around it. Your second question, repeat it again, just so I really want to answer it properly, because these are good questions.
Yeah, no, I was saying, you know, why is touring, you know, such a hot commodity? And then I believe I said, check my notes. Yes. Okay. Yes. Is touring all it's cracked up to be?
So yeah. As a person that tours from time to time, it depends on your perspective of what touring is. Like 19-year-old Arnetta thought, whoa, you're going on tour, you're going to be that person, you're going to be that guy, yeah. Whereas though Arnetta right now is like, you know, growing up and then having my mentor say, you know, you're going towards that mindset, you're going to be completely let down. You just know tours start and they end just like that, and so does the check that comes with it. So Being where I am now, from my perspective, is you just look at it as short-term work.
Yeah.
Short-term work. So with that perspective, you'll always, come out on the upside because you won't be immature with the situation that's at hand. You won't get on stage playing with the artist and then be all excited like it's your show when you're just, a prop. You're just hired. This is your job. Like your job. Like, we see people post all the time like, yeah, I'm going on tour. And I just be like, congratulations, you have a job. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a job. And it's, I'm going to tell people, we'll never take away the fact that it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. But, just some people get caught into the hype of it.
Yeah.
And they start walking around like it's their show, their bus, their fans. And I'm like, nah, not so much. So that's why it gets very weird. So it's all about your perspective and how mature you are,
right,
with the situation, because it gets out of hand, as we all know.
Yeah, I really feel that a big part of it is the type of society we live in. It's such a superficial world where we're so engulfed in what the things we're doing looks like, rather than what the things we're doing actually are. Like, you'd see somebody who'd rather take a picture of food that looks good because it looks good more than because it tastes good.
Right.
And I feel like, everybody's got to get the selfie. Everybody's got to document everything. Everybody's got to get the most likes. Touring's the same thing. And it's not, to say that touring is bad, because trust me, I tour as well. If the right opportunity comes, I'll likely be back on a road touring as well. But I feel like it's intent. Why do you want to tour? Are you touring for these people? And that's what we mean by the hype. Mm-hmm. Are you doing it for the likes? Are you doing it for... I remember touring and it was an artist that nobody knew. Like, my musician community, it wasn't no A-list artist, but I was getting paid more than the A-list artist musicians. And when I showed up to the show and got off the bus, the line was around the corner. And people was like, who's this artist? I was like, oh, that's such and such. And they're like, never heard of them. I'm like, just because it's not the hype don't mean it's not. There's a lot of people in this world. There's a lot of people in this world. And, you don't know every artist. And so I used to do that. But I think really, if you, like you said, maturity and perception, if we focus on what the intent is of everything we're doing, then we can really say, okay, this makes sense because I want to do this. I want to do that. As musicians, as creatives, as music professionals, I think everybody should have goals and then analyze why you want those goals.
Right.
Do you want people to like you? Do you want to be successful? Do you just want to be able to do the thing you love? It's so many, there's so many reasons why. But I feel like in today's society, so much of that is to look like you're doing something rather than actually, because it's not always as glitz and glam. And what I mean by it is like being successful. It's, you might be the guy who's a millionaire wearing Crocs and jeans, and then the person who wants to look like they're a millionaire, you see it all the time, and they're wearing all the jewelry and all. I'm not saying you can't do that, but it's not always what it seems. And I think Arnetta said something good. That's like, it starts and it ends. So just don't make that the end all be all of this means I've made it. There's always something after the tour, during the tour, and before the tour. And you keep that mindset.
And sometimes, you get too wrapped up in your head about tours and don't understand that they end. You might get caught up in the fact that sometimes after tour, there's nothing because you didn't play properly.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody wanted to touch in on that one or if I should keep going.
Obviously I don't want to speak too out of turn because the most extensive touring I've done is like subbing for people for a couple dates here and there, which is great. But I've had the lucky opportunity to have a lot of sort of the OGs in the community sort of talk to them since doing Snacktime and sort of just understanding how truly amazing it is to have a thing that's our own. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have some friends who have worked for the biggest names you could think of, and basically they just have this constant like anxiety in the pit of their stomach that at any moment, if they crack a note or if they miss a step, so I think it's so important to not lose track of the fact that you are not this artist. You have to pay your own bills. And when you go home and you have to, set yourself up for success. And I think that's super important. And like, we in Snacktime got very lucky in the fact that I walk around, Dan, I don't know, it was Brooklyn Bowl. We were at Brooklyn Bowl for the opening, and literally 30 people stopped me and Yusei and Ben and like, oh, you're Snacktime, and just like walking around in normal clothes. And that's cool. That's cooler to me than anything. You know what I mean? Just people recognizing you for something that we've been doing. It's just very, very cool. And it's something I'm definitely grateful for. And I think that having a thing of your own is very important.
Yeah. I want to set into something that I think is important. It's about, most people are like, okay, we've met these people, we've seen when they're, but how do these things happen? Is it money? Do you need an opportunity? Is it a mindset? What are the key things that in your success that you found to be, the most useful tools that you've utilized to get to where you are now and to where you're going? Let's try to keep it a minute or so if anybody wants to stab at that.
I think the most important thing, first of all, is checking your ego. That's the most important thing, is checking your ego, connecting to the people you're playing for. And also a super important thing with success, and I think you mentioned about Arnetta and Ayana, is that branding is so insanely important. Like, we started Snacktime just sort of with this little taped on piece of paper on our bell. The minute we got a bell cover, things changed. Then we started getting the jerseys, and we walk around in the jerseys, and we play Firefly Festival in the jerseys. Now we went from 0 followers to 10,000 followers over the course of just about a year. And I think that that's super important. Not that Instagram means anything, but it does. You know what I mean? So branding, ego, and having, care for the people you're playing for.
Yeah. Anybody else? What are the most useful tools that you've used to find your success?
I say I would have to expound on what Sam was saying, to say networking to the max. Like we all know each other here in this conversation from networking. Like Sam said, at the end of the day, when you're in a room with people, or if you're on stage performing with somebody, you always want to network and build a relationship. We're not saying be best friends with whoever it is, no. But you at least want to network and just leave room for years to come. You never know. You're most likely going to see each other again. So it's like, and if you happen to become friends, cool. But networking has brought me very far. From when I was younger, networking with different musicians, and over the course of time, they just saw my work ethic. They were just like, "Oh, I know a trumpet player." Boom. So then they called me. Boom, and just like that, just constantly leveling up. And as Sam said, ego check. Always keep yourself in line. Self-reflection is key, because at the same time, you want to make sure you're not just out here doing anything. Like, you have some people, I actually posted a status on Facebook today, basically saying some people, they see how eager you are to succeed. And there unfortunately are some people that will manipulate you, and they will use the fact, and they'll be like, oh, okay, they're so excited, they'll just do anything. So then they'll throw something at you just to take advantage of you. So you have to just be able to discern different situations. So yeah, that's
you just said something about Facebook too, and I want to let you talk because I've been talking so much. But something very similar between you, Arnetta, Dan, and myself is that we are constantly online. Ayana, I don't know you as well. I'm not sure if you're online always, but us three were always online, always talking, always posting something, always like that connection with the people. And that happens the same way tenfold with your fans, the people who want to connect with you. Like you can run your Instagram like, a star, or you could respond to every comment, respond to every, that's super important. Engagement of the people. And that's kind of what I meant by caring about the people you play for, is engaging with them, and not for the reason of like, oh, these people will pay me and success, but more along the lines of these people like you and that's cool. So respect that and treat them kindly. So I think that's cool too.
I think for me, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Because I had my microphone on mute the entire time.
Yeah.
I'm going to speak from like a completely business perspective. There's actually two things I'm making short. Yeah. Number one, you have to expand beyond the people that you know. Because a lot of musicians, especially when you're trying to sell something, and then, or if you're trying to sell anything, if you're trying to post it to like your current circle, and then people get frustrated because no one's buying, and then they accuse their family and friends of not supporting them, and then they don't realize that it's not that they don't support you, it's just that's not your market. And you'll find that the growth of your business is going to be fueled by the majority of people that you've never met, who've never met you, you've never met them. Like I can probably count, I'm not to, I guess pat myself on the back.
Go ahead.
Shameless promotion here. But of all I have about 9,000 students between my subscribers and paid students. I can probably count with one hand the people that I know within that entire group. Yeah. So there's no way that I would have been able to expand where I am now if I had focused on just the people who were in my immediate circle. That's number one. Number two, if you're talking about being successful financially, you have to learn sales. So there's marketing, which is the ability to get your product or, what you're selling in front of people. And sales is convincing them to buy that thing. Yes. It's the art of persuasion. And that's what sales is about. So those were the two things I had to learn. It's a learning curve, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. So expand beyond your market, expand the people that you don't know, and learn how to sell to those people. Yeah. That's my end point.
Yeah. That's great. I really.
Bars. I want to touch on that.
Go ahead.
Yes, your supporters will be people that you don't know. It is facts. It is pure facts. Till this day, I have people that I have never met a day in my life. They will take my music. They will do everything that I've been asking folks to do. Meanwhile, I don't even have to ask them at all. They will like it, share it, send it to friends, bring signs to different things and stuff like that. And it's just like, wow, I don't even know y'all. Yeah. And they will be extra miles. So that is bars. And if the sales thing, that's major. I always listen to that because when we get into like merch and stuff, and
how you actually make money
to market it. So
that's basically the model of Snacktime. We go out and play in the street for strangers, get 350 people all riled up, tell them to follow us on Instagram, and then we say, "Oh, you had fun? Why don't you come to our dinner?" And then they pay $75 a person to come, eat food and listen to us play again, which is they always come back because once they know it's sick, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think another thing, and everybody has said really good points. Ayana, I love your mindset of sales, because when I hear sales, it's not even just like, hey, I'm paying you $5 and I'm going to give you a beanie bag or whatever. It's the mindset. Every musician, every music professional, you are that business. You have it all funnels down. If I'm trying to sell something, I have to go out and put up a lemonade stand and tell people, hey, I'm selling something. That's what Arnetta talked about, networking. It's all related. It's Sam's being on social media, finding your target audience and marketing to them. Sam's on social media, finding that crowd, finding that audience, and catering to his audience. And it's all tied to what Ayana said, is because you're trying to sell something. Even me, what I do a lot is I go to places outside of my network. I went to SEPTA and I sold them an idea. I said, SEPTA, you need music. And they were like, okay. Yeah. And I was like, you should pay us to have music. And they're like, why? And I showed them and we were able to deliver. We've been able to create so many jobs for musicians in the area just from a sales pitch and really following through and delivering, you know? So I feel like all those things, I had to network. I had to go outside of my circle. There's money literally laying here as a music professional. And it might not be in the circle you're looking at right now. I think one important thing that happened to me, I had a jam session, but it was on the same night as another person's jam session. And it was in the same vicinity. And they were like, dude, what the heck? Why are you having a jam session on the same night as me? I said, what's that? Like 100 cap room? And I said, and what's mine? A 200 cap room? I said, how many people live in Philly? 1.5 million. If you can't find 100 people, 1.5 million people in this city, you're networking wrong. You're marketing wrong. You're selling wrong. You're trying to go to the same people, most likely musicians, who have a gig the same night, you know, and people will come to my jam session and see people who just like music, you know, who just want to have a good time. Snacktime, they play for people who just regular people that like music. You know, it's not like, oh, this is a band for the musicians. Now they can all play and they can all hold their weight like they just did South. And that's a musician's venue, you know. But I think it's really important to really, you know, travel outside of that. I want to do one more quick question, then I'll open it up. I know we have some questions, you know, that people are asking. I want to get to that too, and we're a little short on time. But okay, when the opportunity is not there, what is your mindset? Like, I'll rephrase it. I mean, I didn't really ask it, but okay, here we go. When you are, whether it's getting a call or making a call, what is your mindset and how does it differ? You know, because I feel like so many people are just like waiting for the calls to come inward, and that's one mindset. But how does that vary from you calling people or people calling you? And this is around the focus of saying, I want to be able to create an opportunity for myself, because I think that's the biggest way that you've really monetized your music. Each one of you have said, I want to do this for myself, so I will go and take the initiative to do it. So it's really around taking initiative, around creating that opportunity, that extra revenue. What's the mindset around that? I'll start with you, Ayana.
I'm already about to get all over this.
Yeah.
Some of you already know what happened to me a few years ago. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but one thing that I've realized is you're either the kind of person who waits for an opportunity, or you're the kind of person who creates the opportunity. And what actually ends up happening is when you create your own opportunities, then other opportunities kind of send themselves your way. Because I'll give you an example with my piano courses, and this was totally unexpected. Like, I wasn't even doing this for this reason. I was just doing it because I was just trying to make, build my own business and mind my own business. And I received a phone call from one of my students who who bought my course. And again, it was someone who I've never met, didn't even know who, was in my list, right? And this person called me. They called me, right? And they were like, you know what? My name is so-and-so. I was really impressed by how you marketed your stuff. I'm the manager of, and he named a very, very well-known artist. And the idea was they wanted me to work with them to kind of do some kind of projects together. So what I say to that is that, if sometimes in order for you to get opportunities to come to you, you have to be the first to create it. So just by you creating it, those opportunities coming to you become like a byproduct. So it's kind of like a ripple, what they call positive feedback effect. So that's my take on that. Yeah,
I love it. Anybody else?
I think that not too much more on that, because she just crushed that question. That was amazing. Right. But I think that it really also is important to not forget to follow up. Like, I can't tell you how many gigs we've done where it's like we got hit up by a really big company in Philly to do one gig, and now later this year we got a contract to book the entertainment for a long time with a big budget. So it's like just following up, and that goes back to like connecting with the people and saying like, oh, thank you so much. It's so nice to meet you. Like, have general, real life connection with people, and you never know what happens. And just follow up with everyone that you play for. We're about to do an album release, or album recording, a live in studio album recording, we're going to hit up every couple we played for, every business we played for, and invite them out, and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, that's great. I think that speaks to really doing the work, pounding the pavement. It's not just going to happen overnight. Like, no one's gotten anything good from just doing it the easy way. Like, you're going to have to do it the hard way. You're going to have to think outside the box. You're going to have to go outside your network. It's not just going to happen staying here. You got to shift in some way. You got to be able to move. And whether it's your mindset, move the people around you, move yourself to other people, I think that's really important. And it's crucial, you know. Did you want to say anything, Arnetta?
I mean, they kind of touched on the whole nine.
Yeah.
But I guess what I would say is, you know, you just, I'll say the cliche thing. You really gotta believe in what you try and do, like, to the max. Like, y'all know how I roll. I do things like I already got it. Like, I put out music videos and stuff, and I tell people all the time, I am not putting this out for my friends and for people to be like, that looks cool. No, I put it for the day where that big opportunity comes my way, and if they need a reason to feel a little more secure, they're going to see she has like 5-6 quality music videos out, a whole album out, all by herself.
Yeah.
Dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Yeah. They see that I already take myself serious, so you got to go hard.
I love it.
I want to
go ahead.
I wanted to add something else too. And I think you kind of touched lightly on this, but I think it's really important to bring this up. How many of you have heard of the 1,000 True Fan Principle?
Come on, I take it over.
You already know I'm going with this one. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I noticed a lot of musicians are more focused on the volume of followers on Instagram and Facebook. And in the digital world, we call that vanity metrics. And that there's a reason for that. Because we're so focused on how many followers we get, but we don't really calculate how that turns into dollars, right? So my question is, this is a rhetorical question, right? So would you rather have 1 million followers, right, who don't pay you a dime or who don't purchase a dime in your products? Or would you rather have just 1,000, right, just small 1,000 group of people who give you subscribers, paying you, like, these are like your diehard fans who just buy anything that you put out there, right? Mm-hmm. So 1,000 people, it could be something as simple as right? You have 1,000 people paying you $10 a month to be a part of, let's say, your Patreon, and getting new content from you or whatever. And it's $10 a month, but you got 1,000 people paying you $10 a month. You're making $10,000 a month off of just 1,000 people. That's already a 6-figure year as a musician. Right. And I think a lot of musicians kind of miss that point because they're so used to, or they're so concerned about the vanity metrics. They're concerned about being, quote unquote, well known and being famous, that the focus gets taken away from who within that following are your quality folks, your quality buyers. And how do you focus on those buyers versus trying to focus on the volume, if that makes sense. So
yes. Oh my God. Please reach out to Ayana. She can give you an entire course on this, and the numbers, it's crazy. It's, really quality over quantity. I want to play a 30-second game, and then we're opening up to Q&A. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please hit up Q&A. We got like 5 minutes left, so we want to get as many questions in as we can. But this is for us panelists. We're going to take about 30 seconds. And just for people, who might need that spark, whatever you do, not just thinking of yourself and how you make money with music, just think of any way you can think of making money through music. And we're going to do it pop. We're going to start it. Ready, set, go. Music licensing.
Merch.
Events.
Yeah, I was going to say events. But lessons.
Yeah.
Studio.
Live gigs.
Studio.
Live gigs. There we go.
Production.
Courses.
Music royalties.
Digital editing.
Coaching other musicians.
Connecting with other brands.
Master classes.
Membership programs.
Yep. Teaching.
Write all this down, guys. There's tons of things. There's so many reasons.
Social media marketing too. That works too.
Yeah, there's so many reasons, that people need music, and this world needs music. You just really have to find, you know, if I could give a last point, I feel like you really just need to find what people need and find the people who need what you have.
Right.
And that's the key. It's just finding what you have to offer. Who does this make sense for? And go find that person, find that corporation, find it, because you're the answer to the problem people don't even know they had. Septa had no intention of having a music program. They weren't thinking about it, you know. But yes, it's so much. I think this was such a great talk. I want to get some questions in. We have one that says, is there a word of advice you wish you can give yourself 5-10 years ago? Anyone?
Yeah, don't be worried about don't be worried about what the people are going to say, or don't be worried about how it's going to be perceived. Just do what you want to do, and if you're honest with your intent and you try your best and you do it in a way that doesn't hurt anyone, there's nothing that could bring you down. Because the worst thing that could happen is you have a good product, and if no one likes it, then at least you have it for yourself.
Yeah. Anybody else on that, or we can another question?
Yeah, I had answered that in the Q&A, but basically, don't ask advice from naysayers who don't know anything about your industry. That's the quickest way you're going to get them to say, "Oh no, you can't do it." But they don't know. So make sure you know how to ask the right people when you're trying to get advice to get to the next level. Yeah.
Okay. Did you answer the other one too?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, for everybody, the determinism, and autonomy you're all demonstrating and discussing is so important in today's music scene. Is there any elements in building a meaningful and sustainable career that you feel you can't bootstrap alone? What kind of supports or networks do you feel are lacking?
How to deal with money.
Oh yeah, financial. Yeah. Financial awareness with musicians is kind of like not a story. It should be though. Also, building a team, management with musicians. I don't know why everybody thinks you have to be an artist to have a team.
Yeah.
Ben is my business partner, and he and I are constantly working on everything together. And I think even if you can I can't do the money by myself. I know that for sure. But even if you can, having a check and balance is a really good way to maintain a actual good product. Because if you're constantly being unchecked, then
we're pretty much out of time. I've really loved the input from everybody here. It was a pleasure to meet all of you. Let's just give a quick rundown and I'll end it. But in monetizing your music, you have to think of some basic principles. Someone's thirsty, I have water. Get off your butt, get out of your room, get out of wherever you are, and find a way to show that person you have water. That's it. You have to really take your idea of what you can do, why it's going to work. It has to make sense, and really find those people, find those companies, find those platforms that you see that will take you to where you really want to go. Please reach out to any of us if you have more questions. That wraps it up. I want to thank everybody for being here so much, and I hope you have a great rest of the session. Thanks, guys.
Bye.